In this session, we will look into data types. Data types are the fundamental basis of every computer program, since everything you do on your computer is somehow related to data, to change data, to process data, to create data. Therefore, it's very important that you understand how to declare, how to use the basic data types. We will look into the programming language C#. Because it's a strongly typed language, you're required to inform your compiler, which is the tool that translates the code that you've written into some machine-readable code. So this compiler needs to inform it about which data you will use. This means you have to declare a variable of which type it is. So this is what we will do in this chapter. We will declare data types, and I will give you a first and very brief overview what you can do with data types, data, and what different types we have. We start with a Boolean value. Boolean data types can store primarily two states, true or false. The next data type is string. Strings are used to store text. This can be also a number or a character. Integers, they can store numbers. In this case, numbers without decimals, so only full numbers, with a certain length. In addition, there are floating point numbers, which the name says. They can store decimals, so floating numbers. They are declared either by the name float or double. A variable in general can be compared to a kind of a storage room where you can put in something that you want to reuse later. This can be one of the in before described data types. Therefore, we have to declare a variable that is used as this storage, and this is done by data type, which declares which type you want to assign to a variable. So the second part is then the variable name. So an example could look like this, that you declare a string that's called my name. That's the most basic way to start with a program. In addition, we can also define the visibility of a data type if you can use it only in a certain area of your code, or if it's globally accessible. This can be done, for example, by declaring a variable as a private variable, then it's only valid in your case, in your script that you write. If you declare it as a global variable, then we can access it also from other scripts in Grasshopper. So far the theory. Now let's look into a first example. Usually programming starts with a hello world example. This gives you an idea how to declare a variable and how we can also send it to an output. Let's start again with our C# script window. Therefore, we create a new script component, C#, as you know. Double clicking on the canvas, typing C#, open the window. In the text window, in the script editor, you can zoom in by pressing the control button and use your mouse wheel. This zooms into the text, and now we declare our first variable, which is called my string. That it is sort of the type of my variable is here defined by this keyword string, and the value that you assign to your variable, so what you put into this kind of storage, this is defined here. hello world is my text. If I want to use a text, I have to put it into quotation marks. And the end of a text or of a code line is marked with this semicolon, which means one command ends and I start with something new. Usually I also start a new line in my script, which is primarily for being human readable. Your compiler only looks into the separation of with the semicolon. So for the compiler, it doesn't matter if you put everything in one line or if you put it into a new line. As mentioned, this makes it more readable. To send your variable to the output of our component, which is this out variable here, we need to print it. So there is the keyword print, and then into the brackets we put our variable. And since the variable is already a string, we can send it directly to the output of our component. And to see it, we need a panel, and we connect it just by drag and drop from the out node to the panel input node. And you see no data was collected. This is because we've don't run our program so far. To run the script, there is here the run script button, and if you press this button, you see hello world is printed into our panel. So the text is sent to the output. What you see here, it needed 322 milliseconds to run your script. You can activate or deactivate this information also in the display menu, in the canvas widgets, and to use the profiler, which tells you how much time you spend for which component. This was basically our very first example to write a script. I collected all the basic examples in a Grasshopper file, which I provide you for downloading it. Below this lecture, you can find the link. There, this is very practical for you, that you don't have to retype what you see on my screen. So you can just open the components in the following and execute the code and play around with the existing scripts. But as you see here, we've created nothing related to geometry or something interesting. We just produced a boring text line. In the next session, we will look into creating of geometry, which we can then view also in our Rhino preview window.